Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. We're here for City Council meeting, and it is Monday, May 16th, 2022. We'll start the meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Nordstrom.
Here.
Weifenbach.
Here.
Roberts. Stroman. Here. Armstrong. Jones.
Here.
Lehman. Here. Solomon.
Here.
Evans. Here. Drew.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is the invocation by Pastor Scott Wiley, and following the invocation will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Lord God Almighty, we thank you so much for the community that we get to live in, and we count that as a great privilege. We thank you, Father, for these proceedings tonight, for this board, for this council. We pray, Lord, that you will guide and direct. We pray, Father, for a spirit of unity and community. We thank you, Father, for all those that will be honored tonight, for those who keep our city functioning in the nuts and bolts, in the public works. We thank you, Father, for our youth and who bring vibrancy, our students, our athletes. We are so thankful, Lord, for such a great and rich experience that we have in this area. And we give you praise in the name of Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God.
Thank you, everyone. Now, next on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. This is where the City Council may adopt the agenda as written or make certain alterations to it. Would there be a motion? Motion to approve the agenda by Pat Jones, second by Lance Lehman. All in favor of approving this agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, folks, we're in session. First up on the agenda tonight is a couple of proclamations. For the first one, I'd like to have the Public Works staff come forward and stand up here behind me on display. Kind of hard to miss. Okay, well, this week is National Public Works Week, and there's a lot of functions that are taken care of within the public works realm. And you know, we often hear people talk about government's number one purpose. Many will say public safety. Some will say infrastructure. I will tell you they're the same thing. You have clean tap water to drink. You can flush a toilet and drain your sink. You can drive on roads. You can have your garbage picked up. There are just a number of things. It's really quite impressive, the number of duties and responsibilities that are carried out by these folks here, most of them wearing yellow. So I'd like to read this proclamation. And the theme is Ready and Resilient. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Rapid City. And whereas these services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals at all levels, who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our transportation, water distribution, water treatment, and solid waste systems, and the structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest for the citizens and civic leaders of Rapid City to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in our community. Now therefore, I, Steve Allender, Mayor of Rapid City, South Dakota, do hereby proclaim the week of May 15th through May 21st as National Public Works Week in Rapid City, and urge all citizens to join in activities and events to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, employees, and leaders, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our health, safety, and quality of life. Thank you guys very much. Open mic.
Go ahead, Sean.
Thanks, guys. My name is Sean Jewett. I work at Solid Waste and Collections. This is a heck of a turnout. This is pretty impressive. Thank you, you two, especially for all you guys do and everything that you do, and the council too. We can't do this without your guys' support and your encouragement, so I thank you guys very much.
All right.
I got group shots.
Okay, we got group shots. So anyway, thank you guys a lot. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mayor. Okay, now how about we get all the soccer folks up here? No offense, but a little better look. You guys with cameras can come up to the front if you want to. I have another executive proclamation to read, and then at the end, you can see the pattern here. At the end, I'm going to ask one of you to speak. Okay. Okay, the proclamation reads, whereas the Black Hills Rapids Soccer Club has been an important part of the youth athletics community in Rapid City and western South Dakota region, and whereas the Black Hills Rapids Soccer Club coaches, staff, and volunteers enhance our community by supporting both competitive and recreational soccer programs, challenging athletes at all levels for over 31 years. And whereas the Black Hills Rapids Soccer Club is one of the largest youth athletic clubs in Rapid City with over 1,400 annual youth soccer players with a significant economic and social impact through 4 annual regional tournament events and 3 annual community seasons. And whereas the Black Hills Rapids coaching team, staff, the board of directors, community leaders, City of Rapid City, Pennington County, and volunteers have provided the vision and passion to make this soccer club a community within a community and a place where our youth are encouraged to be leaders on and off the field. And whereas this commitment to excellence by everyone involved results in showcasing superior soccer action and the glory of sporting community activities during one of the largest athletic events in the state. Now therefore I, Steve Allender, Mayor of Rapid City, do hereby proclaim May 30th through June 5th, 2022 as Black Hills Rapids Soccer Club and Soccer Week in Rapid City, and encourage all Black Hills residents to attend a tournament and extend their support at one of the many exciting events. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Real quick, I just want to say thank you and let everybody know that this is part of our under 13 girls team. They, along with our under 17 girls team, just got back from Sioux Falls, where they competed at the highest level of competitive soccer, and those two teams won the state championship. So. But this is a massive honor for us in the club and the whole soccer community. It's a huge club. We're a giant family out there. If you ever drive by the fields, they're full every night. During the tournaments, it's absolutely packed. The investment on those fields, I think, was a good one. There's thousands of kids through there all year, you know. So thank you guys, and we've got a great group of young ones coming up. So.
Thanks, Coach. You wanna stand up here? Okay, item 3 on the agenda. We have a few presentations now, and the first one will be from Western Dakota Technical College Foundation.
Hi, my name is Nora Leinen. I'm the Foundation Director at Western Dakota Technical College. Thank you for having me here tonight. This presentation was kind of started as a presentation I gave at a mayoral breakfast. Mayor Allender was kind enough to speak at that event. Councilman Nordstrom then invited me to come down and talk a little bit about Western Dakota Tech, where we are, what we're doing, and some of our visions for the future. We're really excited about where we are in our time and excited for our next steps. Before we get started, one of the things I wanted to bring is just the Wdtc mission, the mission and the vision of our college, our technical college out there, which is 55 years old this year. The reason why I wanted to bring the mission and vision is just to highlight that community and workforce are not just byproducts of the education that we give at Western Dakota Technical College. They're literally built into the mission that we have out there. So it's not just something that we say, oh, great, it also affects the community. We want to make it our purpose to affect and make a better community around us for Rapid City and for the region. So I also wanted to share that mission and vision with you. With the foundation, we have a similar mission and vision. Basically, we want to support the mission of the college, which is to give high-quality technical education to our community and to the region, and then to create thriving communities with a highly skilled workforce. We want to be on the front lines of finding ways to help manage the workforce issues that are affecting our area right now. And we want to work with you. We want to work with all of our surrounding communities to find innovative ways to do so. Before I talk a little bit about where our future is, though, I've got to brag a little bit about where we are. Western Dakota Technical College has some great statistics behind us. We have a 98% placement rate, so pretty much what that says to me is that if you'd like a job when you graduate from Western Dakota Technical College, you can have one. We really pride ourselves on these numbers. We know that 85% are going to be working directly in their field right after, and 97% are staying here in South Dakota. Again, we're really proud of those numbers. We want to educate people who want to stay here in our communities, work towards making a better life for themselves and our region. We did just graduate this past Saturday, 373 new graduates to add to our workforce here. It was a really wonderful ceremony. It was also great to hear 45% of the students that have graduated this year are the first in their family to go to college. So some really awesome statistics to share with you. One of the reasons why we think we're so integral comes from the Department of Labor, not from us. These are some pretty cool numbers that we promised we didn't ask them to give us. They found them all on their own, but it turns out that the majority of job openings here in South Dakota require an associate's degree. On average, additionally, the graduates with an associate's degree across the state are going to earn $1 more per hour than those with bachelor's degrees. Currently, our graduates will earn about an $18 an hour average on graduation. That's going up. We're seeing that increase, especially in some of our healthcare fields, some of our construction fields. So really excited to see that number continue to improve. But it's also kind of just great to see the value that associate's degrees have within our state. Average earnings, you're going to see they're going to earn over $10,000 more with full-time employers with their associate's degrees over a high school diploma. Again, you're going to see some of those degrees that were conferred last year. 373 is our new number this year, so excited to have those. We also really wanted to talk about how we want to be a regional force here. We have been reaching out to our surrounding areas. We have opened up nursing locations in Whitewood. We will begin a nursing location this year in Phillip. We want to be a regional powerhouse in technical education. And we want Rapid City, obviously, to be the hub. We don't want Rapid City just to be a town with a technical college. We want to be the leading technical education in the region and have people come specifically here for us. Students are employed across the Black Hills region and across western South Dakota, and then of course we have a lot of people who stay right here in Rapid City as well. We also offer dual enrollment courses in the high schools that the community is listed up there. Rapid City Area Schools has been a big partner with that for quite a few years. So where are we going? I know we already talked a little bit about Western Dakota Tech's mission and how we really have community workforce as a key point to that. Some of the different things that we do as a foundation is we are in charge of all of our scholarships, including our Build Dakota scholarships. Talk a little bit more about that Build Dakota program here in a minute. But we really see this as kind of a group effort, right? We want students, we want businesses, we want our scholarships to all work together to support these students who are looking to have this educational attainment and then move into the workforce as prepared technical workers. With that, the Build Dakota Scholarship, I hope you guys have heard of it, but if you haven't, you'll hear of it now. It's been around for about 9 years now, and what this is a full ride scholarship sponsored by T. Denny Sanford in the state of South Dakota. What it is, though, is not just a full ride to any student. We really try to pick top students who are interested in pursuing a career in South Dakota. Additionally, we want as many industry partners from businesses in our area as possible to buy into these programs and support these students. We do have certain eligible programs, so we are always adding to these. We are putting in for law enforcement, actually is our next one that we're looking to expand to. We hope to encourage more students to go into our law enforcement programs in those areas in our state, but these are all of our programs that we currently offer at Western Dakota Tech. Overall, with the Build Dakota Scholarship Program, we have over 30 industry partners, meaning businesses in our area that we work with, that are sponsoring students and asking them to come work for them. We're in over 12 communities, and currently we've awarded 70. We just heard we might have a new industry partner, and we're hoping to push that up to about 85 students are going to get a full ride scholarship to Western Dakota Tech this fall. What do they have to do? Why is it really important for the workforce of South Dakota? It's because, yes, they don't have to pay student loans or have any of those issues, but they do sign a 3-year work agreement to work in their area in the state of South Dakota. The goal is to keep these students here and to give them the start that they need to build a life and stay here and build strong communities. Our industry partners are anybody from Monument Health to Fall River Health Services. We work with Skull Construction across all of those degrees that I listed there. What that means is that those businesses are putting up a certain amount of money to sponsor students. Those students are interviewing with those industry partners. They're deciding, yep, this is what I want to do. Those industry partners then a lot of times will hire those students during their time at Western Dakota Tech. They'll work part-time, go to school, and then at the end, go to work directly for that industry partner and for that business. So directly feeding that workforce pipeline. We do have a great partnership with Elevate Rapid City too. If a business is interested in sponsoring a student but is not able to put up the money required, Elevate has some excellent programs to help those businesses out. So we're really trying to make it accessible to anybody from a mom and pop shop to somebody as a large employer like Monument. And now, kind of as a testimonial, we did want to bring forward this video that Weston and Denise Chapman, who are the owners of Black Hills Tire, who are also Build Dakota industry sponsors, made for us about their experience with the program.
Hi, we're Weston and Denise Chapman, owners of Black Hills Tire, and Jenny asked us to do this video talking about the Build Dakota Scholarship and what it means to us and why we've decided to do it.
We are both graduates from WDT many years ago, and Weston's on the advisory board for the automotive program. And they just approached us and said that the state has this Build Dakota program where we cover part of the tuition and the state covers part of the tuition, and the student can basically get a free ride to school, which is amazing because it will build technical trades that we need in our current workforce, and the student can graduate debt-free and not have to worry about, paying back all these student loans.
Yeah, and we personally, I guess we're both big advocates of two-year programs, trade programs. Whether it's obviously the automotive industry is important to us, but plumbers, electricians, electronics, welding, machinists, auto body, nurses, it doesn't matter. We think that there's just a huge need for that in our area, so we were pretty big advocates of that.
The Build Dakota program really can help you build your employee base. We are building our Black Hills Tire employee family just by going, using this program. And, there might be a few tough years as we wait for these kids to get out of school. But once they do get out of school, we are going to be just so far ahead. And I can't encourage other businesses enough to do this. The cost is so small, so small.
Well, compared to the cost of training new employees, trying to recruit new employees, we've all been there. We've all maybe are currently trying to bring in new employees and find new help, and it's a really tough thing to do right now. So really growing your own, especially through this program, is a really easy decision.
During the process while they're at school as well, they work for us when they get out of school. They get out about noon or 1 every day. In the summer they work full time. So really we are getting a fabulous employee, and they're learning on the job, and then it's fun for them to come to the shop after school and tell us what they learned at school that day and some new tips and tricks or some of the new technology coming out. That really excites Weston, so he's kind of excited to hear what they're learning. It's just really a no-brainer to offer this as an employer.
Yeah. And what really blew our mind is when we found out that so many East River companies are actually offering this to West River students. They're coming into the school, they're calling the school, and they're basically stealing our employees. They're stealing our kids, and I don't blame them. I would too.
Yeah.
But that's something we need to put a stop to by offering these kids jobs and positions and scholarships, here in West River. So.
And ensure that they have a position when they graduate. I think a lot of kids are scared to go to school because they don't know, am I going to have a job when I get done with school and then I have all this debt? Well, with the Build Dakota, you can build that in where they'll work for you when they're done, when they graduate, and that eases their mind and makes them a better employee.
But for anybody that doesn't know, that Build Dakota scholarship, once the student graduates, then they've signed a contract to work in that field in the state of South Dakota for 3 years, and you can make that contract so that it works for so they work for you for 3 years, and so basically you're getting back your investment over the next 3 years. And really, at the end of that 3 years, if you haven't convinced that student or that employee that you're the place that they want to be, then really that's on the business, I think.
Yeah. So we just would encourage you all to consider it. The Western Dakota makes it so easy to do this. Like, it has been just a piece of cake. Yeah. Jenny and her team help with every part of it, and we haven't we don't have anything but good things to say. It's super easy, and if you guys have any questions, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to share our story with you.
All right, thank you. That is a little bit of a long video, but I think they've got some great things to say. It always strikes me when they talk about East River companies coming over and recruiting our students. We know that we have a good product, and again, we really want to work with our communities here, West River, to get those workforce needs addressed. Just a couple of things that are on the horizon. We are really interested in building student housing. This is something that you're going to hear about quite a bit, I think, over the next couple of years between myself and our president, Dr. Bowman. We know, and I used to work in the admissions office, that we lose students because they can't find places to live here in Rapid City while pursuing their degree. We've heard that from our students. We are responding to it, and we are looking forward to finding new ways to approach that issue, and hopefully to have some student housing on our campus to support those students to come and get those degrees. Again, I mentioned our satellite campuses that we're looking at. Those are nursing facilities at this time over in Whitewood and then Phillips, South Dakota. And then, again, we're just wanting to be that regional force. We want people to come to Western to South Dakota because we have top-notch technical programs. We want Western Dakota Tech to be the hub for that, and we want to work with our surrounding communities in Rapid City to really make a name in this area as the leader in technical education. So I guess the last thing I would say is that if you haven't been down to our facilities in a long time, please let me know. I'd love to give you a tour. If you know somebody who owns a business, if you have friends, we're really proud of what we do out at Western Dakota Technical College, and we're here to just keep spreading the word to make sure people know the opportunities that are available to them and available to the community. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. Okay, next presentation from Councilman Richie Nordstrom.
We're waiting for the slideshow to get loaded up. There we go. First of all, I want to thank the City Council and the people that were involved in helping me putting this program together, and first thank the City Council members for allowing me to go on this trip to Washington, D.C. this last March. And because of the heavy, busy schedule that we've had to do with the City Council, I had to wait until this opportunity to make this presentation. I just want to explain a little bit about the conference that we had this last spring. Is the it was called the Congressional City Conference, and the committee that I'm on is called the Transportation and Infrastructure Services Committee. And in the middle of this photo up here is the Dr. Barbara Odom Wesley is the chair for the subcommittee that I'm involved with. Is called the Intergovernmental Subcommittee of the Transportation Infrastructure Services, and you'll hear me call it TIS every once in a while. I want to say a big thank you to this young lady. Brittany did an awesome job about putting our committee together and helping out the committee leadership as well. And she also helped me put on this short, hopefully to be a short presentation. So this one won't be very long. Some of the things that we got to talk about is in this document that you saw at the beginning here from the National League of Cities, had to do with the Building Better America. And some of the things, it's about a 7-page report that we got to go through during the 3 or 4 days that we actually studied on this. And part of it here, you can see some of the important things that came out of that document. And for me, one of the more important part is what we can do on local government and the transportation side of it. One thing you'll probably be hearing more about is the RAISE grants. And we got a little bit of an introduction of it with the future proposal that we have for the crossing of 6th Street and Omaha. And then some of the other things that you see on here, we have the potential of of seeking some grants. But again, I just want to remind everybody, these are very competitive grants, very competitive. Oh, another category that we talked a little bit about is climate, energy, and the environment. As you can see in there, the outstanding one for me was the FEMA projects and the dollars that are available. And because of what's happening down in my ward next door to me is the flood mitigation assistance. So we have a possibility of seeking some additional grants in that area. But again, it's still very competitive, and it almost has to be a shovel-ready project before we'll be able to obtain that grant. And then there are some other things that are of interest that might be future things that we'll be concerned with or drawing attention to within the city of Rapid City. I brought this one up just because I thought of it as a point of interest. In general, what we are seeing here is that approximately 15% of the residents of South Dakota, or excuse me, 15% of residents of Rapid City do not have broadband, and they do not have access to the internet. So it's something we have to take into consideration for some of the projects that we're doing and the information that is getting relayed to the public. And again, the particular interest for me is, again, the the Emergency Watershed Protection Program. And hopefully we'll be seeing some more of that coming up. Towards the end of the conference, I got a chance to speak to the congressional delegation staffers. These items that you see in front of you are the things that we got a chance to talk about. And one of the more outstanding things that we need to draw attention to is affordable housing or obtainable housing, housing that can be afforded to a lot more people within Rapid City. And so one of the things that we got to talk about, and I'm also on a committee that has to do with the Military Advising Committee for Ellsworth. Just recently heard about it. Some of our families that are moving into Rapid City that are getting assigned to the air base have to live in campers during the winter months, and those campers are not allowed or cannot attain water, so they have to go to a different location to take a shower, for example, or even doing cooking and the traditional things that you and I take for granted. Well, these folks have got to take different approaches on how to get water into their life, and it's a quality of life for the military people and the Air Force. And again, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the digital equity. It's approximately 15% of the residents here within Rapid City without broadband. And again, it's one of those information items, getting what we have within the city, getting that out to the public. And then also, for me, is another interest in getting that information. And if students have got to do homework from home, a lot of the folks have to go down to, say, for example, the library, or you've even heard of stories, people going into the parking lots of McDonald's so they can do their homework. These are some of the speakers that we had at this conference. A lot of them you recognize, but up in the upper right corner is the president of the National League of Cities. Another person of interest down there in the lower left corner, we got to hear from the Ukraine President Zelensky, who got to talk about the current events at that time in March, what was taking place with the people of Ukraine. And it's really tough to hear the stories that are going on, what they went through and are encountering right now. And then in the lower right is the Youth City Council, and I'll introduce the lead speaker for the City Council here in a minute. But I want to draw your attention to Tay Swanson, who is one of the marvelous speakers that had about a 15-minute warning that she was going to be put on that panel that you see in the lower right corner. to get ready for a presentation and have an opportunity to discuss the different items that they were getting approached on. And she did a marvelous job in representing Rapid City and how the Youth City Council operates here. Lastly, I wanted to just give you a real quick shot of all the activities or places that I got to see while I was in D.C. I can't believe the distance that's between these locations right now. And a few years ago when I was up there, it was about 30 years ago, it wasn't that far apart, but now it sure is a long ways apart. So I want to go back to this slide again about the opportunity to get introduced to you, Drev Goyle, who is going to be the speaker for the Youth City Council to start it off with, and have an opportunity for me to meet the rest of the City Council, and it was a hoot. I can't say enough about the opportunity that I did get to spend with these kids in the different committees and in different assignments that we had. So let me turn it over to Drew, and you get to take it away.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah. So, hi everyone, my name is Dhruv Goyal, and we are all excited to present to you what we discovered at the National League of Cities Conference and what we plan to implement in our own community. So, first of all, we would like to extend a huge thank you to the city, Pennington County, and the RCAS for supporting and funding this trip, which was under budget. So we had a total of 8 Youth City Council members and 2 adult members go to this Washington, D.C. trip. 3 of the Youth City Council members experienced their first flight on this opportunity, so this was certainly a unique experience. We met at the airport at 4:30 a.m. on Sunday, March 13th, and returned on Thursday, March 17th. Which one?
Hi, my name is Peyton Swallow. I was an attendee on the NLC Washington, D.C. trip. The conference was a very large gathering with attendees from all across the nation. It was exciting to be among city leaders, yet the venue was quite vast, so finding where you needed to go was somewhat of a challenge.
Hi, my name is Natalie Johnson. There we go. We had these things called youth sessions, and they consisted of the 17 youth city councils that were there from across the nation. And it was really just mainly discussion over the issues and priorities that are important to us. They actually did a survey to find out what was most important to youth. And the top 2 topics were mental health and also connectivity, so kind of like that broadband that Richie was mentioning. There was also a lot of networking opportunities, so we got quite a few social media from other students in attendance there along with other councils, and it also helped us realize that we need to kind of up our social media just a little bit. But it was overall just really cool to see that a lot of the other councils in the area had a lot of similar priorities to what we have and had a lot of similar issues that we were dealing with.
All right, I'm Laura Jensen, also an attendee on the DC trip. In our general sessions, we mainly talked about the American Rescue Plan Act and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And we had very qualified speakers, one of which Richie mentioned was the President of the United States. We also had Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, come down. They both took time out of their day to come speak to us, which was very inspirational to get these very cool people come talk to us. All right, one of my favorite people that I saw there personally was a man by the name Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann. He was a part of the Green Beret and then later went on to become an actor. And he gave us a really inspirational speech on all the things he's done. And it touched my heart because I had just been in a play about MJ Hagar, who went to Afghanistan. And so that was really cool. Our next slide, I'm going to also start, was our breakout sessions. The one that I went to is not on here, of course. And so that was the Transportation Infrastructure breakout session. They talked a lot about a bunch of grants that they had offered and how there's a lot of them out there, and if we apply, we could get them. And I think that would be a very important thing for us to bring back. And it was really inspirational to me because it was a panel of all women engineers, and that was really cool to see.
Hello, my name is Tristan Eisinger. I'm the treasurer of the City Council. No, you're good. I also Drew and I attended one of the breakout sessions for the 50,000 to 100,000 population, or 140,000 population, which our city falls in. And it highlighted what we can do with our American Rescue Plan money, which was $13 million in the first tranche directly to cities, and there's a second tranche coming. And we thought that some very important things that we could use this for would be infrastructure, broadband, as Richie was saying, and we also met with Loveland, Colorado had some youth there at that session, and they expressed the very similar ideas for using this money, and they actually told us about how they implemented it. They had a youth on the budget for the actual city that got to help and give some input, and they used some towards their schools. And I think a very important thing would also be paid internships for the city, so we can highlight work development in the city, and not part-time positions or seasonal, but working alongside the city staff in a variety of departments to learn more about our government and operations within the city.
Yeah. And Tristan did a great job summarizing of what the breakout session was overall. But one thing I'd like to emphasize was the youth group that we met with. So these guys from Loveland, Colorado. And one thing that really stood out was that they advocated for so much in the community. They listed off so many things, including taking off mold from their old schools. So this level of community encouragement was really relatable and encouraging to us, because we strive to do the same thing, and this experience really heightened how we view community involvement. So that was one thing I wanted to emphasize.
So while in DC.
One more.
Oh,
We got
okay.
one more. There was a lot of breakout sessions.
Another breakout session that I attended was the Women in Municipal Government, or WIMAGE. WIMAGE brings together females and municipal leaders to network and share best practices. A few things I took away was Las Cruces has an all-women city council, and Lauderdale is the only city in the U.S. with an all-women of color city council. And I think that really touched my heart, because it just motivated me to keep going. And as a woman of color, like, I can do it, other people can do it too. One of their goals and priorities was care for elderly women. Elderly women were at the rising level of homelessness.
So Peyton just mentioned homelessness, which brings me to the last breakout session that we're going to talk about, which was the one that I attended, and it was the homelessness and affordable housing one. So this one was really interesting because it more so talked about affordable housing just kind of as a whole, and it brought a lot of different perspectives that I hadn't considered when thinking about affordable housing. Like, one person mentioned how to keep houses in more affluent neighborhoods like more affordable for the children that are moving out of their parents' house. And it did also obviously talk about more availability for low-income housing, but it talked about a lot of different, just like the broad majority of affordable housing, and I thought that was really interesting.
So as I was saying, before I interrupted, we got a very cool tour of the Capitol, a very specialized tour, which was very cool. We got to see some amazing art and walk alongside some of our state representatives without maybe even knowing it. And we got to meet with John Thune, and he actually sent us autographed pictures saying thank you for coming out and talking with him. And it was just really cool to also talk with his interns too, who are closer to our age, and kind of learn about their journey and how they got to where they're at in DC and what their next plans are. And it's just inspiring to see like all that representation from our state in that high up place in DC.
Okay. So we also went to the National Mall, where we actually ran into other Rapid City community leaders, such as Amy Sazu and Dr. Valor, I believe, Rhea Big Eagle. We ran into them when we were at the Martin Luther King Memorial, but we also went to the Washington Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, the World War II Memorial, the Korean War Memorial, which was still under construction, and along with the Capitol. And some of the pictures up there are photos of us in the rotunda at the Capitol, which it was very big. Like, they had a lot of rotundas. The Capitol is massive, but it was absolutely gorgeous in there. They had a lot of cool artwork. They had some statues from different states. I believe each state had 2 different statues. But yeah, we walked like a million miles that day. We went to a lot of memorials, but it was a lot of fun, and it was a really cool opportunity, especially for those of us who that was not only our first plane ride, but also for some of us that was our first time seeing the memorials.
So touching a little more on who we met, as I said, we met with Senator John Thune, the whip. We got to meet in the whip office and talk with him a little about his life and some issues that are important to us and him. And we got to talk with Senator Mike Rounds and Representative Dusty Johnson, who is a very bright personality and very fun to be around. And that was cool for all of us to experience and take pictures with them.
In other moments in the city where we did have time away from the conference, we had an opportunity to visit with Audrey Cope as she worked at the Bipartisan Policy Center, and she lived in Rapid City and went to Augie. We got to explore and understand the subway system. We found neat art in an alley near our hotel on an early morning coffee run. Cherry blossoms were late as they bloomed, or as they had late snowfall, but we looked for them, so yeah. We experienced what grocery shopping was like in Washington versus what it's like here, as we did that to save funds because going out to eat was expensive. A few of or 2 of our attendees had leftovers that they'd like to share with some of in a tent area for some of the homeless community members. So that was really cool to be able to give back to a community that we were visiting.
I believe this is me. Okay, and now we have our takeaways, which is what we learned and what we wanted to bring back to you guys to show you, which were some of our favorite things that we learned there. All right. How your investments benefit our community. One takeaway that I personally have is that I feel the need that we should possibly invest in a grant writer, seeing that there were so many grants out there. And it is an investment, but I feel like it would definitely benefit us in the future looking forward.
Yeah, so the conference we went to was very informational, and sitting there I was thinking I wish everybody could take in all this information that I was taking in, because I was learning so much about our city and all the opportunities that our city had. And the conference wasn't biased one way or another, which was really nice. Everybody was there because they wanted what was good for their city. So my main takeaway really was this, the American Rescue Plan money that President Joseph Biden implemented and what we can do with that. I think some very important things to put that money towards is broadband, as that is now a very prevalent issue in our community and other communities. So that's internet access for all. And as I said before, internships, paid internships with the city.
So one takeaway that I had from the National League of Conference was having more participation in our own council. So on the Youth City Council, we only have us representing all our schools, all our youth, and all the other people involved in our community. And now this is a big responsibility to handle. Now one way we could increase this or diffuse this responsibility is by encouraging more participation from the community in our own council. One specific way we found from the National League of Conference to do this was opinion polls. Now these would be simple sheets of paper that would have like a question on them and encourage like a multiple choice or something, or invite these students to share their opinions and tell us what they would like to see. Now, this would have the effect of letting us target more issues targeted towards the youth and give us the more ability to have a greater change in our society. So that's one takeaway I had from this conference.
One takeaway I had, or one thing that I really admired about this conference was all the amazing trainings. So one of my takeaways, I think, would be wanting to offer professional development training, because I think that that would be very beneficial in not only developing our community, but developing our community members as well to strive to create a better community.
One takeaway I had, Peyton and Drew both kind of touched on it a little bit, but it was just really cool to see how involved everyone there how involved in their community everyone there was, and how passionate they were about it. And you could really just tell that everyone there wanted to make a change, whether they were just in a youth position, or they're the mayor of one of their cities, or they were just serving on the council for one of their cities. Like, everyone there was just super passionate. And I really think that's something that Rapid and the surrounding area could benefit from, is just having more people be involved in the community and working to make that change that they want to see.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, you guys.
Good job, everyone. Last presentation tonight, solid waste presentation related to an agenda item number 25.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. In July of 2020, Public Works and the Solid Waste Division initiated a master plan for the Solid Waste Division. The data used for the Solid Waste Master Plan relied on 2020 year-end reports. 2021 and 2022 has seen some very dynamic market conditions, as well as some dynamic challenges for the Solid Waste Division. Public Works staff and Burns and McDonald presented at last week's Public Works Committee meeting a solid waste status report and a path forward. At this time, we'd like to give a recap of that presentation for the Public Works Committee to the full council. And with that, I'd like to introduce Luke Rodig with Burns and McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time tonight. I promise to keep this brief. We just have 6 slides to go through. This first slide just shows an overview of the master plan project scope, as well as the timeline. So, as Stacy mentioned, the project kicked off in July of 2020. Most of the heavy lifting was done between July 2020 and March 2021. So that was the data gathering, the operations assessments, the analysis of the data. And I would like to just commend the city project team for all their hours and effort throughout the project. I know it's a significant time commitment to be a part of this project, just from gathering data, attending all the project meetings, and reviewing some of the deliverables. So thank you to the solid waste staff who participated throughout the project. I also want to thank the stakeholders that were involved for their time and participation throughout the project and through the 3 very lengthy and detailed stakeholder workshops that we had, and some of which were council members here. So thank you all for your time and participation throughout the project. After the 3rd and final stakeholder meeting in April of 2021, we presented to council in May and in June, and then rate adjustments were brought forward and approved at the July council meeting. After that, we finalized a draft of the solid waste master plan report, and it was submitted to the city project team in October of 2021. Since that time, as Stacy alluded to, there's been some challenges from staffing shortages, which I know you all are aware of with the solid waste division as well as public works. So review and finalizing of the plan had been on hold, but now the project team's ready to move forward and finalize the report. Here's just a summary of the approved rate adjustments that went through in July of 2021. So there was adjustments to the residential collection rates as well as the landfill tipping fee rates. Here are the key recommendations that were assumed with those rate adjustments. We had gone through all of these in a little bit more detail back in May and June of last year, so I won't hit on each one, but I do want to highlight the overarching recommendation across all three operating units, which was to address the baseline needs of each operation from staffing, equipment, and capital improvements. So really that's adding additional FTEs to each operation, establishing annual equipment replacement funding, as well as capital improvement funding to address the baseline needs and maintain the same level of services. Also note, as Stacy mentioned, these were based on 2020 values and then inflated to 2021 dollars. So that'll be an important note to consider as we talk further in the presentation here. So here are recommendations for future implementation. The items under the material recovery facility as well as the collections were all discussed in previous presentations. One new piece of information to share with the council is on the landfill side for the long-term disposal evaluations. So we looked at 3 scenarios for long-term disposal: expansion on the existing landfill property, development of a new landfill off-site, and then conversion of disposal operations to transfer station operations. And so you can see the outcomes of those evaluations. The middle column shows the cost per cubic yard of airspace, and that's based on the first 15 years of capital costs for expansion. As you can see, expansion on the existing landfill property is about half as much from a capital cost standpoint as developing a new landfill offsite. And then the far right column shows the disposal costs. So that's the operational costs for operating an expansion on the existing landfill property compared to a new landfill offsite, as well as compared to the transfer station option. So the most viable and economic alternative is expansion on the existing landfill property, as you can see in the table there. Now, Stacy had mentioned this in his intro, but over the last 6 months to 12 months, there's been a lot of dynamic changes, unprecedented changes in economic conditions from cost inflation standpoint, both staffing and wage increases, hiring and retention bonuses that had been implemented, as well as the equipment escalation and capital improvement cost escalations over the last 6 months have really impacted everyone. The solid waste industry in particular has been impacted. You look at a collection vehicle in 2020 that was $250,000. In 2022 dollars, that same vehicle is $330,000 now. So massive inflation, significant cost escalation, and things to consider when we're finalizing the plan here. Other considerations from the city's team review are listed there, but overall the project team thought it's valuable to evaluate the impacts to the cost of service projections with these cost inflations. So that gets us to the final slide here and just the options forward for finalizing the plan. Option 1 is to address the minor city project team comments, finalize the report, and move forward. Option 2 is to further evaluate the impacts to these cost escalations, as well as the impacts of the increase in tonnage, which is an increase in revenue. So just look at all of that together and see what the impacts are to our cost of service analysis and the rate adjustments that were approved in and projected forward through 2025. So as a project team, we feel it was really valuable with the magnitude and scale of this master plan project to reassess the cost of service and incorporate the updates. So that's where the recommendation to proceed with option 2 comes from. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, general public comment. We have 2 general public comment speakers tonight. Our first is Councilmember Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just want to remind the public and especially residents in Ward 1 that I will be hosting a Chat with Pat session at the Colonial House this coming Saturday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Any local residents, especially those who live in Ward 1, are invited to come and talk to me about what's on their mind. I'll update folks on city projects and other things going on, but welcome to invite them to come and chat with Pat this Saturday, May 21st from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Colonial House. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next up, Chuck Henry.
Few meetings before, I talked about this new way that people have to people had crossed the street with the buttons. I came across another corner that had buttons that didn't work, and then he had one button, I believe, that was so faint you can't hear over traffic. I'm about to say we have a great fire department, a lot of friends there, and the police department's great too. But last Thursday afternoon, I was crossing the street up at Minnesota and 5th Street, and my foot caught onto one of those deals they could turn water on and off. It was like 6 to 8 inches above the sidewalk. I went down really hard, really injured my right side of my chest, and when I was there, I was actually assisting myself to make sure I'm all right to stand up in that. But no police officer responded. We had an ambulance that responded from Station 1. Cold, but it's my experience in procedures is if somebody's having trouble breathing and like chest pains, that should be a hot response both for the engine and the ambulance. But like I said, I don't have anything against fire department and police department, but I've had several complaints where I took it to the EMS director and that. And of course, everybody in the fire department knows me. And there's been some incidents that I needed that should have been done the right way. And this one should have been responding, because I laid there when the water was, when it was raining, before I decided to get up. But I think it was a 20-minute wait time before they got up here. So we need to check and see where those deals for the water turnoff is, and make sure they're below the even or below the sidewalk, so nobody else can trip on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now on to non-public hearing items, 6 through 47. We'll open public comment on those items, and we have one speaker request from Chuck Henry on items 12, 24, 31, 35, and 42.
Okay, on 12, I've talked to Richie about it. I was at the last meeting that was brought up. I still don't like it, because it's giving just dragging feet on it, is what I feel. That's 12. On the sidewalks again. This area that they're asking to not have to put in, because all the other residents don't have a sidewalk. That makes people walk in the street and they can get hit by a car very easily. On 31, I was here last meeting, we talked about it. There's what? Nuisance really is a big problem around the city. With people don't want to pick up the garbage or leave an unworking car in the backyard. We've got a lot of it. And I guarantee if you go around Rapid City when it snows, you're going to see a lot of sidewalks not shoveled off. 35, hunting deer with a bow and arrow, with a bow. We wouldn't have this problem because they're just building wherever they want to build in where the deer used to be. Well, I remember one time I was driving in Tower Road and I pulled over because I saw some deer go over. And I walked over to the top of it, and there was a bunch of deer there. But they're not there anymore. They got buildings. And I've talked to Richie a little bit about this. I don't think the soil on the hill there is suitable to have a big structure besides a house. I'm afraid we're going to have some some collapsing. So it's great to have these, but where I've seen it where deer have been, it's great. 42, historic districts. I don't know why we have a historic group make these these buildings historic if you're going to have them rezone and where they can tear them down. That's a good site for the tours. It gives them the sight of what Rapid City used to look like with them and students, so they can see some history out there. Thank you.
Thank you. That'll bring into the public comment period. Now on to consent items 6 through 47. Are there items that the council would like to pull from consent? John Roberts?
Item 45.
Okay, Ron Weifenbach?
Number 25 and number 32, please, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any other items? Any other items to be considered separately? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of 25, 32, and 45. Made a motion made by Bill Evans and a second by Jason Solomon. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Item 25, acknowledge solid waste presentation, master plan status update, and path forward. Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move approval. If I can get a second, I'd like to speak about it.
Second.
Okay, second by Lance Lehman.
During the presentation, I had a question that came up, and I'd like to ask about option 1 and option 2. We're just acknowledging tonight the presentation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, we're not acknowledging any options one way or...
Not approving anything, we're just
Okay.
acknowledging the report.
That was my main question. So, but the other question I had would be, when would we be looking at this presentation coming forward in a manner that, I mean, it's been working on it for a while. Some of these things are getting implemented kind of piecemeal, and it's causing some disruption within the community. So I'm thinking if we had a date when we knew we were going to come forward with a lot of these changes that are going to take place.
So if I'm reading it right, does Public Works have a date, an implementation date for components of this plan?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, to answer your question, the first step of the proposal would be is acknowledging tonight. We would then move forward with an amendment with Burns & McDonnell to readjust that cost of service model, which is to update it to reflect the 2022, 2021 inflation numbers. That amendment I would anticipate could be done in the next 2 months, something that would come forward. That work I would foresee being done, I would say this fall would be a reasonable time that could be done, and the master plan would then be completed in that time frame.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one more question. Understanding that the landfill's capacity is limited, we're going to be talking about a grinder. I'll talk about that later, but it's reaching capacity within short order, probably quicker order than what people in the community realize, or maybe even some of my colleagues realize. And something came up tonight about expansion versus transportation. Transferring it out is about half the cost for expansion, but are we talking about expansion of land that we currently own, or are we talking about expansion of land that we do not own?
On the slide, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
On the slide, the first option is property we currently own, and it would be expansion to the south on 106 acres that the city currently owns. That is the most economical expansion and most cost-effective. The next option would be then a separate landfill that would be remote or located elsewhere.
Right, I understand. I just didn't know when we were talking about, it was pretty self-explanatory that the recommendation was going to be expansion where we currently are, but I didn't know how long the extra 106 acres would present itself to last. I think they're doing some work out there right now, if I recall.
We are currently not permitted for municipal solid waste on the 106 acres. That is a location we utilize for daily cover. We would go forward with a permit modification or an amendment to get the 106 acres permitted for municipal solid waste. That would be the next step.
My next question was, how many acres does the landfill currently have?
442? It's 400. I don't have the number at the tip of my fingers. It's like 442 or 460 acres.
I'm just trying to imagine in my head how long that 106 acres would last.
Sure. So the current permitted capacity goes out to about 2040, and then the south expansion would be in addition to 2040, and it's anywhere from 15 to 20 years of additional life beyond that. Based on current tonnages.
Okay. That answers my question. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks again for the presentation. Piggybacking off that question, is one of the serious recommendations we're looking at a separate location for the landfill, and will that be part of any future recommendation, a near future recommendation? Or is that more of another plan situation?
So looking for landfill expansion off-site, that would typically need to be done about 15 to 20 years in advance. And so with the available capacity of existing landfill property and potential expansion on there going out to potentially 2055, it would be a future plan and recommendation.
Okay. Are you basing your prediction of 2040 with our current site and whatever 15, 20 years with the additional on data pre-pandemic or current rates of growth?
Thank you for that question.
Plus future growth that we're expecting.
That is exactly why we want to take a look at this cost of service analysis again, because the tonnages that we have seen coming into our facility over the last 2 years have gone up considerably. So we want to check that data to kind of get a better feel for what that life is before we need to be looking at a new facility.
So is our data, before it's even done, already old based on the rate of growth that we're experiencing right now, and that's not including the rate of growth that we expect?
It was based on the 2020 year-end projections, and it was based on, I believe, like a 1.8% population
Okay.
increase. What we're seeing right now is significantly different, and that's what we want to look at. And then there's going to be a decision working with the planners again. Are the projections of what we see now something that we can basically rely on for going forward to make that prediction?
So a lot of the estimates that I'm hearing, the next decade and beyond, which is where a lot of our mindset is 30 to 40,000 more people, and many people say it will double population. And you're seeing it in the tonnage, and it looks like the data is actually data that predicted the 2020, which clearly blew out of the water based on migration surge, and we still have the arrival of the B-21, and we have ongoing economic development efforts. So I'm a little concerned that our timeline is actually not as far out as we predict it will be. Am I wrong in that thinking, or am I right in that thinking?
I would say part of the option 2 that's proposed would reevaluate the projections going forward with the updated tonnage information, 2021 year-to-date numbers, as well as looking at year-to-date 2022 tonnage numbers. And so we would evaluate that as part of option 2.
So we really need to get serious about where, if there's a potential either expansion at the current site or future site, that might come quicker than what we are already predicting, right?
Yes, the timing is going to be analyzed. We need to get a better feel for where that's at with current conditions. The south expansion is something we are going to actively be moving forward. That would be the 106 acres on getting that permitted.
Okay. So when we hear 2040 and another 15 to 20 years, it's easy to kind of sit back on that, but that's actually based on old data. It's probably going to come at us much quicker than that, so I just want to put that on the record, that someone actually said that, and that maybe we can, hopefully you will study it and we can act on it. So thank you for answering my questions.
Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you for the presentation. When this was given to us at the Public Works meeting, I asked a question about what about recycling, because recycling isn't mentioned at any great deal in the presentation. And I made the comments that recycling is something that, at least some of our community likes to do and wants to do. And it's very likely that as we grow and expand, a lot of the people coming to our area will want to recycle, hopefully. It's a way to reduce the amount in the landfill. And so we kind of have a moral and ethical, perhaps, responsibility to provide it, even though it may or may not cash flow. So could you touch base on that a little bit, on how that may or may not fit into the future plan?
Sure, Mayor and Council. On the recycling scope of the project, we talked through with the stakeholders as well as the city project team early on in the project about maintaining the existing recycling program, which is residential collection as well as some select commercial cardboard recycling. And really the main focus was to address the high priority items to address for the existing operations. There are some recommendations to improve some public outreach and education to increase participation rates, as well as increasing actual volume of recycling from the residential side. Commercial recycling was not addressed as part of the scope, just because there were other immediate items that needed to be addressed, critical short-term items to be addressed prior to going down that path.
Okay, thank you. And then one other question. There was a story on the television news a few nights ago saying how Rapid City's tonnage is very high. Do we generate more garbage than the average city our size, more or less the same, and why might that be?
I would say from a per capita standpoint, the Rapid City Regional Landfill serves a regional area. There's many other communities, counties that, haul waste into the landfill facility. So from a per capita standpoint, I would say the tonnage is comparable to other landfill facilities.
So we're not any more trashy than anyone else?
Not from our analysis, no.
Thank you. better reanalyze. No, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Gentlemen, thanks for the presentation tonight. I appreciate the insights that you were able to offer us. I guess I'm coming from the direction of shall I say, infrastructure, equipment, et cetera. Are those in your calculations as well for the 106?
We have addressed the equipment replacement schedule, and the key on that was to get a reoccurring replacement schedule in place that the rates would support for equipment. That equipment replacement schedule would be applicable for where we're operating today, as well as applicable for when operations move to the 106.
Thank you. And then one last question has to do with the, I'm not sure exactly how to phrase it, so I'll just come out with it. It has to do with the current situation that we're dealing with on the staffing levels. Are we catching up? Are we getting caught up on the staffing levels so we can address some of the things that I'm looking at in option 2?
I'm glad you brought that up. One of the reasons we're able to come into council at this time with option 1 and 2 was we are stabilized at the solid waste facility. We feel like we're in a stabilized position now to where we can dedicate resources to reviewing the final reports, getting this actions done with both operations staff as well as public works staff. So I would call it stabilized at this time.
And our reserves are doing okay?
Our reserves are in line with what the cost of service showed with the rates that were implemented.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'll yield.
Bill Evans.
I'm trying to recall exactly what the figures were that you showed for the 3 sites. What is the main reason the second choice, which was another local site, for the giant increase in cost? Is it mainly because of the infrastructure involved with the new site?
Yes, if I may. To address that question, so development of a new landfill off-site would duplicate infrastructure needs. So as the existing landfill continues to be closed, it's still generating leachate. It still needs to manage stormwater. There's landfill gas to manage. All of that infrastructure would also need to be built and in place at the new landfill site. So it's duplication of the infrastructure as well as some of the operational items. You have efficiencies with the material recovery facility and composting operations where they can have some flexibility with the staffing. In addition to scale house operations, it'd be duplicate scale house operations for a off-site landfill.
Okay, I kind of assume that, and the simplistic response is, well, we just got to keep expanding the current site. But the reality is, over the next 15, 20 years, if we do use it up, the cost of this land in these foothill sites is going to be appreciably more expensive, and we should perhaps start investigating land further to the east that's not quite so desirable as building sites and, growth for the city. And so I think we do have to start looking 50 years ahead if we're not going to catch the future citizens in a huge bind. So that definitely needs some more explanation. Thank you.
Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. When thinking about the explosive growth of our city, some of it is just natural growth, but a lot of it is going to be due to the expansion of the air base. So are there any federal funds that can help us with any of these infrastructure problems that we're going to face because of the expansive growth? Yes, I know it's going to be a great thing for a town, bringing a lot of people, also a lot of money in projects. But with that goes the cost of, actually servicing those people that are coming into our area. Is there any help?
I am not aware of any federal programs for that. The state of South Dakota has helped us in the past with solid waste grants and financial assistance on some of the programs we've done for our own facility. That is limited, though, in dollars. I'm not aware of a federal program.
Well, I just see our citizens sucking up all this extra expense. And, you know, it seems like the state has more than $1.95 to rub together right now, so I'd kind of like to see them help us out too, and maybe come in here with some money for us. And I know we don't have a grant writer right now. That really does concern me, because I think there might be some help that we haven't looked at yet. So I'm going to yield. I see Public Works is in line here, but it just seems that we're going to bear a lot of the brunt of not only of our airport expanding, but also the landfill expanding. And a lot of us won't see a lot of the benefits from all the people coming here, you know. So I just would like to just know that maybe there's something that can help us pay for these extremely expensive projects of growth. Thank you.
Dale Tech.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to, I guess, provide a little more information to council, I've had meetings with the mayor and others with Pennington County commissioners, Box Elder officials, and we've had the discussion about what the future of solid waste is. And this is a regional issue. It's not a Rapid City issue. And I made Pennington County the offer that they could certainly become a regional solid waste organization, and that would serve a lot of the citizens of Pennington County. So we've laid the groundwork of talking about the future, and that's something we need to do today, and we're going to continue to do that.
Okay, we have a motion to acknowledge on the floor. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 32. Authorize Mayor and Finance Director to sign loan documentation with Black Hills Community Bank for solid waste to purchase a grinder in the amount of $895,000. Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and for the sake of opening Pandora's box again, I do want to say that this is not the first time that Public Works has presented us with this program. This is an update. So it's all available. They've brought it to us at one point in time. This grinder is one of the things I think that was on their wish list, because simple reason is that I hope I'm not out of turn here and somebody can chime in. I believe that this grinder, what it does is airspace in the dump, in the landfill is what's cost, and that's what gets filled or doesn't get filled. The grinder is a machine, a big machine that grinds the solid waste and into a more dense form. So it allows the landfill to fill up at a less frequent amount of time. That's why this is on here. That came out of the some of the implementations that you guys have been seeing coming forward, but seem not to pay attention to as they come forward. They did make a presentation on all this stuff at one point in time, so we're reiterating what they've come forward with. This grinder is especially important. I think this came out of the brainstorm of the people that are on the front lines of the landfill. They really, really know what's going on at the landfill. I'll bet you, I'll almost guarantee you could go talk to these guys at the landfill, and they could probably tell you how fast that landfill is going to fill up by seeing the tonnage numbers and seeing where they're at and where they've been. So that's something to keep in mind. But this grinder is important. It's going to, is it 3 to 5 years that it'll add to the life expectancy, Stacy? Mr. Mayor, may I ask?
Yes, please.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Grinding does allow for about a 15 to 20% reduction in volume. So what we do grind, that material definitely adds life to the facility. We don't grind everything at the landfill, but what we do grind, we would see a 15 to 20%
And Mr. Mayor,
reduction.
we do already have one grinder in place, correct?
Yes, this will be the second grinder. So we will have two, but the one needs to be replaced.
Right,
It's
okay.
wearing out.
15 to 20% equivalents to, you know, if you figure that out, or whatever the number is, 20% in 15 years, you can figure that on your head, 3 years, 5 years. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All I want to do is make a motion to approve.
Second by Lance Lehman. Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve item 32. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Then on to item 45. Is that right? Yes. Yeah, then on to item 45, which is a request by TOE Design Group for Keating Resources for preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 through 15 of Black Hills Commerce Center subdivision, generally described as being located southeast of the intersection of Dias and East Mall Drive. The recommendation is to approve with stipulations. John Roberts.
I just need to abstain from this.
Duly noted. Thank you. Okay, Jason Solomon makes a motion to approve with stipulations, second by Lance Lehman. All in favor of approving with stipulations, item 45, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the end of our consent calendar. Non-consent items, 42 through 47. We have no speaker requests for this public comment period, so we won't have one. Starting with ordinances, item 42, first reading ordinance 6537, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Historic Rapid City for... Oh, all right. Just testing you. He's got a nice way of doing that, too, by the way. Okay, hold on. What? Okay, this is John Roberts' fault. No, wait. And you did. Okay, time out. So I was right. Right.
But Mr. Mayor, we should probably start with non-consent again, and I don't know if we need a revote or not. I don't know what the parliamentary procedure is on that. But
there are no, under non-consent, there are no speaker request forms for this. I don't think it changes the outcome or anything. I don't see a reason to rehash 45. Besides, yeah. Now back to business. Item 42. God. First reading ordinance 6537, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Historic Rapid City for a rezoning request from medium density residential district to general commercial district for property generally described as being located at 727 South Street. Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve 42 and keep the floor, please, if I can get a second.
Okay. Sorry, restate that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 42 and keep the floor, if I can get a second.
Okay, Bill Evans makes a second. Go ahead.
Thank you. In reading more about this one of the things it says that this takes place is that documentation allowing people to research their family history and things will be stored at this location. Maybe Alderwoman Drew can help us out a little bit here. There's been some discussion back and forth about whether that would be stored at the library and the genealogy people looking for a place to store these important materials. So if I may, Mayor, may I bring Alderwoman Drew into the discussion?
Yes.
I do have a little background on that because they have been trying to find a better home for these documents for a long time. It seems to be taking up a lot of room, and of course it'll continue to grow. And so they thought that I believe this is the McGillicuddy House, thank you, will be a better station for these places. I don't know what their hours of operation will be, or if you'll have to call to make those kinds of arrangements to go through the genealogy. But I think for all intents and purposes, this is a better place for them to be than in the library at this point.
Well, it was very exciting for me to read and see that because I know they've been trying to find a home. And we do have a considerable amount of people who come to Rapid City and are interested in that topic and work on it. So there needs to be a final resting home, if you will, for this information. And so I'm very excited to see that that's going to be part of this project at this house. So a very, very exciting step forward for
And
us to do
Pat,
that.
you know that they just can't keep it just anywhere. It just it has to have the proper humidity controls and things like that. So
Right. And
they're
security,
working on
and
that.
yeah, there's a lot of things that go with storing that kind of information. So this is a very positive step forward for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a couple of experts in the audience tonight. If you want to hear from them, Sarah Hansel and Gene Kesloff, if they want to add on any comments, further comments that has been brought up for specific questions that were being discussed.
Jean Kesloff, President, Historic Rapid City. I think there's been some confusion. We will not be storing anything at the McGillicuddy House. We help people in their research for family history and stuff like that, but we won't be storing anything at the house.
Oh.
So I don't know where the confusion came from.
And I'm not able to help you out on that either. So the other, yeah, I think the bottom line for me is to explain to the public why we need to do this. I think it's, and the way I was reading it, and please correct me if I'm in error, is that it's a way to preserve this property, and a much better way to preserve it. So.
The rezoning that we're requesting will allow us to do functions at the house that's why it was suggested that we do the rezoning.
Okay, so nothing moves from the library?
No, absolutely not. I don't know where that came from.
Came from me and Pat. I thought that was the reason for the rezoning. So, but I understand that you'll want to use this facility, so.
Yes.
Yes.
If I may, I'm reading the agenda item summary that's provided us. One of the things that says, the museum is proposed to be the home of Historic Rapid City, which will assist people with inquiries such as researching their house style and history, researching early Rapid City family histories, and facilitating the acquisition of collections. By bringing the home's past to the present, scholars, historians, and others will benefit from its use as a public space. So that's how I read that and interpreted that. That is not the case?
We do assist people, and we assist collections to go to the places that they need to go to, like Minnelusa. We do assist people in that. We assist them in researching their family history. And then it goes to where it needs to go from there, because we are not climate controlled there, but we offer those kinds of services to people. Am I still not being clear?
Well, you're clear, but I'm not clear then, because it seems to me that is a big part of what this project would help do. And you're saying that that's not the case.
You mean the rezoning would help do, or?
Let's, Alderman Jones, may I suggest we go to the horse's mouth for this one and call on Vicki Fisher?
Don't make me whinny. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I love that you guys are actually reading the project reports. That is exciting. Absolutely, it's great. The issue is tonight, though, I think we're getting a little into the weeds. This is not for a specific use. This is a rezone from a residential zoning district to general commercial. So the real question before us tonight is whether or not having commercial activities on this property are appropriate in this area of our neighborhood, of our community. And what staff and the Planning Commission brought forward to you is a recommendation of yes. Looking at our future land use plan, looking at Mount Rushmore Road being a corridor into the hills, this is where we do want to see those commercial activities. We want to get away from those residential uses that are there. And so even though, yes, there is the McGillicuddy house on the property, that's fantastic, but it's more to what is the appropriate zoning designation for this area of our community. At some point, if they were to come in with a planned development or a building permit, and that was before you, to see whether or not that's the specific use of the property and is it parked right and et cetera, then we would be having these discussions. But so for tonight, this is just, does this rezone meet with the city's future land use plan and comprehensive plan? Should this be a commercial property instead of residential? And Planning Commission is bringing forward a recommendation of yes, please approve.
Well, and then that's fine, and that sounds great. There's just a whole lot of jam on the bread here talking about what they might be doing or not doing in the future, and I just want to make sure we have a very clear understanding. Because I know when I was on the library board, the issue of the Genealogical Society and where all of those documents were going to be stored was a very, very big deal, and I believe it still is. So I just think, I'm just looking for some clarity here, that if that's an expectation of what this will do, fantastic, and if not, that's fine too, but let's just make sure we know. That's all.
It sounds like the answer is no, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so we have a motion and a second. Oh, wait, Bill Evans.
Well, Mr. Henry expressed concern about this earlier, didn't you? And I think you can relax your concern, because I think this is, all they're trying to do is get a source of income to help support the preservation of this particular site by offering some services that may generate some income. Am I correct? Yes. So I think this is a win-win, and we should do more of this, trying to repurpose these old structures and making them useful into the next century. So you don't have to worry about it, Chuck. Thank you.
Greg Stroman.
Just like to call the question, Mr. Mayor.
Sounds like a good thing to do. We have a motion and a second on the floor for item 42. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 43, first reading, ordinance 6538, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of the Chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by KTM Design Solutions for Stone Ridge LLC for a rezoning request from low-density residential District 1 to general commercial district for property generally described as being located southeast of the intersection of Fifth Street and Enchanted Pines Drive, and the recommendation is to approve in conjunction with a planned development designation.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion by Lehman and a second by John Roberts to that effect. Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to make the motion, and I just wanted to give a shout out to the developers. This neighborhood has been developing over there. It's very nice. The projects are very nice. The buildings they're building are very nice. We've met because of some of the planning issues that happened in the past. It pushed the development of the housing district into a district where it really shouldn't have been. And I remember when that was done, and they have townhouses, some houses that were up against this project. The people with the project could do whatever they basically wanted to do in that area, but they chose to meet with the people in the neighborhood and work with them to try to get the best project they can. And I wanted to say thank you. Thank you guys for being part of that community over there. I think it's important that they wanted to represent the community in a good fashion over there, and you all get a chance to see the buildings they're putting up over there. They're nice. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion to approve item 43. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 44, first reading, ordinance 6539, an ordinance amending section 15.04.030 of the Rapid City Municipal Code regarding the authority of the building official. Motion to approve, Weifenbach, second, Drew. All in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 46, a request by Ferber Engineering Company for Hayland LLC for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed Lot 1R of Silver Strike subdivision, generally described as being located east of Tisch Boulevard and north of East Mall Drive. The recommendation is to approve with stipulations.
Second.
Motion by Lehman, second by Roberts to approve with stipulations. All in favor of that motion on item 46, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alcoholic beverage license renewals, item 47, approve the attached list of 150 alcohol license renewals per verification through the Rapid City Police Department and Rapid City Fire Department. Motion to approve by Jones, second by Roberts. All in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing items 48 through 54. We'll open public comment on these items, and we have one speaker request from Kyle Trelor on item 53.
Kyle Trelor with Dream Design International, here to represent the Black Hills Industrial TIF. I'd like to just play a short informational video that kind of shows the overall project and kind of runs through some of the goals and concepts, and then of course if there's any questions during the discussion, we're more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Located along the Heartland Express, just south of Katrin Boulevard and a short drive from Rapid City Regional Airport, is the Black Hills Industrial Center. The center will be home to many technology and value-added agricultural industries to address our regional and national needs. This location has a strategic advantage in reliable power sources and uninterrupted access to the railroad. Industries will create an innovative environment to capture the talented graduates from the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. Value-added agriculture will be a focus of the development, opening new markets to South Dakota's largest industry. Industry leaders in technology and manufacturing have shown interest in the project and are making commitments to make this site a home for their business. This includes Acer Technology. They are constructing a $120 million facility to produce state-of-the-art batteries, meeting the demands of the rapidly growing renewable energy and technology industry. The center will provide more than 2,000 professional jobs that will improve the regional wage scale and enhance the quality of life within the Black Hills. The center will complement the mission at Ellsworth Air Force Base and provide reliable employment for families of enlisted men and women. Dream Design is proud to partner with local and state governments to bring the largest industrial development in Rapid City's history. It will transform our regional economy and help protect our natural resources and the environment of the Black Hills.
Okay, thank you for that, Kyle. And with that, we'll close the public hearing period on these items, and we'll start off with consent public hearing items 48 through 51. There be a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Lehman, second by Richie Nordstrom. All in favor of approval of 48 through 51, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Non-consent public hearing items. Item 52, approve resolution 2022-032, resolution for vacation of right-of-way of a portion of lot H4 of the northeast 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of the southeast 1/4 of section 22, etc., Rapid City, Pennington County, property generally described as being located west of the intersection of Golden Eagle Drive and Villaggio Lane. This item was continued from April 26th. Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve item 52 and keep the floor if I could.
Okay, second by Roberts. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the property owners and the people that worked on this project, because it came forward to us. There were some concerns, there were questions, and between the property owners, our good folks in Vicky's office, planning? Yes, planning. A better solution came forward because people worked together and we listened to each other and we solved the problems. And that's always best for city government, that's always best for our residents, that's always best for people who have projects. So thank you for your patience. I know it wasn't exactly what you wanted to see happen, but the process, in my opinion, worked, and we have a very good resolution to this situation here, and it's going to move forward nicely, I hope, and meet the needs of a lot of people up there. So thank you.
We have a motion and a second on the floor for approval of item 52. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 53, approve resolution 2022-034, a resolution creating a tax increment district, and approve resolution 2022-035, resolution to adopt project plan for the Black Hills Industrial Center, a request by Dream Design International for Black Hills Industrial Center, LLC, for a resolution to create a tax increment finance district, and a resolution to adopt the project plan for the Black Hills Industrial Center. Property generally described as being located along Highway 79 and Old Folsom Road, and the recommendation is to approve with stipulations. John Roberts makes the motion. John Roberts makes the motion, and okay, Bill Evans, you get the second. Okay, we have a motion and a second for item 53. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 54, approve second reading ordinance 6536, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Indigo Design LLC for Dakota Heartland for a rezoning request from general commercial district to office commercial district for property generally described as being located at 4112 Bernice Street. Motion to approve, Roberts, second by Drew. All in favor? All in favor of approval of item 54, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'm informed tonight we have a need for an executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2, subsection 1, to discuss information listed in subdivisions 1-27, 1.5, subsection 8, and 1-27, 1.5, subsection 17. Motion to go to executive session by Jones, second by Roberts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we are in executive session, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we have a motion by Pat Jones to come out of executive session, second by Lance Lehman. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, next item on the agenda, item 55, is the bill list, and we'll go to Finance Director Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no additions to the bill list, so the total is that which is attached at $11,581,650.18.
Motion to approve Solomon, second by Roberts. All in favor of approving the bill list, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Lehman and second by Roberts. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.